Okay, October 4th, 55. We have a Libra with Moon in Taurus, Sun in Libra, Venus is in Libra, Mercury, Neptune, all in Libra. So Venus is one rulership, Mars is in Virgo, Jupiter's in Leo, Saturn's in Scorpio. So only the Venus, there's only one rulership of the Venus here. Okay, so here we've got the chart, and then so you have the Venus. Venus rules the Moon in Taurus, and it rules the Sun in Libra. So you have the charmer anyways who likes nice things, wants to be appreciated, wants to share, and it's ruled by the choices. I make it what I want. And that Venus is conjunct Neptune on the ascendant. So the wanting the appreciation, the wanting the perfect relationship, wanting to be believed, wanting to feel you're being liked by people and wanting to get that feedback and being appreciated. It's a strong thing. Being appreciated is going to affect her habits. It's going to affect her confidence. It's going to affect the way she thinks. It's going to affect her beliefs. Right there. So she could believe too strongly, the Mercury is Venus, Neptune. She could fall in love too much or expect so much of the other person. This is what I want, this is what I want. But if it's not there, it doesn't work. How could they leave me? How could they do that? And then you have the whole self-worth becoming in question and becoming weakened. If the self-worth gets weakened, it's going to have a really strong effect. But the self-worth, Venus is in Libra, it's usually good there. The choices are going to, so what I want is going to direct the way I think. I want this. How do we figure out how to get it? How do we go for it? That choices, it would be more difficult being married and putting up with someone who's making bad choices. Oh my goodness, how can I put up with those bad choices? How do I get around that? But the self-worth, having something beautiful, having something talented, liking yourself, getting what you want and being liked and appreciated is such a strong factor here. That's special because most people don't have that. Most people are going to try and do things. This person is going to charm to get what they want or complain when they don't. And if they don't get what they want, it has far-reaching effects. If they do, it has far-reaching effects, really positive. You can see this first wave, the Moon, Mercury, and Venus, and the Moon, Sun, and Venus, all, and the Neptune, and all this tied up, affected by whether I'm happy or not, whether I like myself or not, whether I'm beautiful or not, whether I'm appreciated or not. And that's going to be far stronger. This all opposes the ascendant. It's going to far outweigh the ascendant. So like all these things have to come in place before the understanding will develop because of that. But when I know Mercury, what I want or what's wanted, or what I like or what I don't like, it's going to then direct I'm going to say things that will direct my Mars. My mind will guide my Mars, but my mind is already heavily influenced by my desires. If you want that, okay, I got to figure out how to do it. Now I see what we need to do. Okay, now we need to do this. Let's go do it. But the action, desire to do something, just do it. No, I am not going to do it if I'm not going to get what I want. So you're just playing around this. We're not looking at, we're using the signs to get the positioning, but we're not even interpreting with that. The next point to expand it is to add the signs on it. You can see it's doing this to this, but we've already done that with the worksheets. So that's already inherent in you. And this is just another layer to let you come at this. It's not, we've already done the things necessary to do the consultation and the transits. So this is not on that level. This is on another level. If someone has a special complex, somebody's autistic, someone's got a special problem, you're trying to understand their kid, these become useful. You're trying to understand the deadbeat husband or the wife or whatever. Like you begin to see how the trees, who shakes whose tree or what shakes the tree. So if this person had if the teacher liked them and the teacher was smiling at them, they would do really well. But if they had a teacher they didn't like, they would fold. So this is a kid that would need to be encouraged to stay, encouraged to do these things, encouraged to do that, but may have difficulty doing it for themselves. And they may need that encouragement to go ahead. So it's a quality control, not exactly a leadership control. So this person in a leadership control, they might use money too much to get what they want or spend too much on a campaign without seeing all the costs involved right away. That's a Saturn on the midheaven. So the Saturn on the midheaven, the Capricorn on the midheaven is ruled by Saturn, which is very low in the chart, which is It's actually in the 7th house, but it's low on the tree. It doesn't have the most predominant influence in the pecking order of things. Okay, sample 8. I think when we went through the classes, there was some confusion between 6, 7, and 8. Anyways, the dates. This is February 17th, 79. The horse. So this is an Aquarius with the moon in Libra. So you have the moon in Libra, we have Saturn in Virgo, Virgo rising, Uranus, Neptune, Venus in Capricorn, Mars and the Sun in Aquarius, Mercury in Pisces, Jupiter. Nothing's in a rulership. There's no rulers in this chart. So now what we do? How do we affect the tree? Interesting puzzle. So we've already done the planets. We've seen the houses. We know how each planet's working. We've got the basic pictures of it. We have the rulerships that are there as guiding. We've already gone over this chart. It's a much more complicated chart. So when you look at it, the sun is in, where are we? The sun's is in Aquarius, and it's ruled by Saturn. So Saturn rules the sun, and Saturn rules Mars because Mars is in Aquarius too. There's a Saturn, and Venus. Where's Venus? Venus is in Capricorn, so Saturn rules the Venus too. So Saturn is ruling these 3 planets: the Sun, the Mars, and that's a branch of the tree. And the Saturn commitment will guide, responsibility and commitment will guide the actions. I gotta have a job, I gotta work what I have to do. It will guide the confidence. It will guide the Mars. So these 3 aren't necessarily higher than the other. It's just the Saturn is the peak here, and these are lower down. So to the Sun, and then to the Mars, Saturn directs the action. I'm working on my commitment so that I'm going to have to do this, and then I can break through to some independent things. Then the Saturn hits the Venus and determines, I don't have enough money, what do I have to do? I'm working this, how am I going to get this? So the concern over getting the rewards, what I have to do, and my confidence is all based on what kind of commitments and what work one does. So as one's being responsible and making the effort and putting in the time, one gets the rewards, one can act on it, one gets the confidence around it. But if you're not dealing with the Saturn, if you're not being responsible, you're not doing the work necessary, you try and cut corners, do it fast, you're diminishing your satisfaction and your energy and your confidence. Okay, now, the Venus, the values, then affects how I'm going to live. So the work, what I want, I have to do this to get some money, to get what I want, to get, so okay, now I want that. Then it's going to determine, well, will I live here, and how much do I have to put up with? Where am I going to live? What can I live? What can I can't live? So this is all one section. This whole half slide here is all Saturn ruled. Okay, but the Sun, Jupiter is in Leo. So the Sun, which is in the 5th house here, I believe. Yep, the Sun in the 5th house, so the performer, the player, the Sun, Mars being really active. It affects the Jupiter. The Sun, I want to perform. Jupiter, I want everyone to understand it. It's like going into the 11th house. It's in Leo. It's like, hey, notice me. This could be a performer, player, someone runs a band, or he's going to try and naturally take his energy and make it reach out to more and more people. Okay, his understanding as he's reaching out to other people, Jupiter, it's affected by the confidence, which is affected by the commitment one makes. Make the commitments, I'm doing this, well, then I'm learning this, I'm looking into this. Then there's confusion of how much, there's running into some puzzles, different beliefs, different things that affect the Jupiter. And then that Jupiter, that understanding, rules the Mercury, because the Mercury's in Pisces. Is that right? Mercury in Pisces, yeah. So the Jupiter rules the Mercury. So the understanding, he runs into different types of understanding, and that's going to guide him to have to learn it, go out, study these things, and think about these things. So here's someone who's doing his work, he's going along doing things, he runs into astrology, it's fairly confident, he runs into new teachings and new understandings from other cultures, from traveling, runs into astrology, begins to start studying astrology. And that thinking begins to affect his career, which begins to spins it around the whole area. So there's a whole cyclical process of how one affects the other in here. And then the thinking, once the understanding comes in, that thinking, I'm going to think, how am I going to make this career? How am I going to identify to it? It's a puzzle that I have to work. And then the thinking says, this is what I have to work at. And then depending how well you work at it, it develops, it takes you a certain place, then you understand certain things, then you get exposed to other things, there's more to learn. So there's always things learning, there's always exposure to other cultures, other places from this chart. But in that way, there's a certain ability to show and teach other people. It's the Aquarian that wants to know and show with what one knows. There's books to write, there's records, there's albums, there's things to put out with this chart. And then as you put out, it's going to lead to having to know more and more information. The more one knows, the more respect one will have, and the better it'll be to succeed at the other things. Okay. Now we're going to come to some familiar territories where we have the actual people and we can talk about things going on and see, and you can see it a little bit better. This is Donald Trump's chart. And how much we time? Yeah, good. Okay. So Donald Trump, he has a sun in Gemini, ruled by Mercury. Mercury's in Cancer, Venus, Saturn's in Cancer, Pluto and the Sun, Mars are in Leo, the ascendant's in Leo, Neptune and Jupiter in Libra, Moon in Sag. So there's no rulerships in his chart. He hasn't got any rulerships either. So now we have to figure out how this works. What rules what rules what, and here's how it works. His moon, this is moon. His moon's in Sagittarius. Okay, it's affected by Jupiter. So I put the moon Jupiter at the top. Just random. I could have done it any other way, but I tried to see how this branch would go down. I knew the moon would go to Mercury. The moon will rule Mercury and Venus and Saturn. Venus, Saturn. So each of those are going to have their own tree. So Saturn, nothing in Capricorn, Aquarius. So Saturn has the least underneath it. So I put Saturn in the middle, and I put the moon ruling Venus and the moon ruling Mercury, so they could branch out from there. So moon's in charge of all these, and affects all of these. But the Venus and the values, where how I'm living, he has all these hotels. He's traveled around the world, but he's only lived in his own hotels. So how much of the world he's seen, who knows? But his lifestyle determines, and his understanding of his life, his understanding how she lived, let's make America great, or let's do these things. His understanding tends to be run, it's run by Jupiter. His understanding affects his lifestyle, but his lifestyle affects how he thinks, what he does, his commitments, and what he wants. And what he wants determines, totally affects his understanding. Because the Venus rules, the Venus is in Cancer, ruled by the moon, how I'm living, but I'm living this way, but I want this, so I have to get more. Jupiter, and I'm having to get more means I have to live like this, and this spins around into a very, what do you call it, very, what's too much satisfaction, what's too much money, what's too little. It makes it very successful, it makes him a lot of money. He sees how to get more, how to get more, how to get more. He's knowing how to get more and more and more and more. Doesn't necessarily know how to work for it. But seeing, here's a deal, here's something I can make. I mean, certainly he's not going to lose business by being president. He's going to be taking care of his business while he's being president. He's going to see how this is improving things. He's going to make rules and understanding to adjust his life to make things better, to make more money coming in. Like by putting the tariffs on Chinese goods, there's these billions of dollars that are coming in taxed, and all that money is just going to the government to pay for, that'll pay for his wall and everything else. So this is, you can see the moon to the Venus to the Jupiter, his understanding, if his understanding is distorted by his desires, by wants, I gotta have money, I gotta have this, I wanna have this, I gotta marry a young lady, I gotta have this, I gotta have that, it's gonna go there, his understanding is gonna go there, and that understanding, well, I got this, so then I can live, we can buy this place, we can have this place, I can get this, or the idea of having a hotel which holds more people, I can live there, and I can get what I want, and like, you can see that cycle going around. Even his family started the business, which he renamed, and then and carried it on. You know, so if you put these at the moon, if you're not living right, it's going to affect what you value. If your values are wrong, it's lustful, or it's envious, or you want too much, or self-centered, is vain, or the vanity or the understanding is going to magnify to a greater understanding, but it's going to have effect on one's understanding. Well, it's going to push that understanding on how one's lived to live up to one's vanity. So like here you can see his hair blowing in the wind.